about health, and that's adrenal health. So we'll go into that here in a second. So again, we are Doctors Warren. You can find out more about us either on Facebook at Doctors Warren or at doctorswarren.com. And we have a health center. We have a clinic located in Chattanooga in the Hamilton Place area. And we do virtual health coaching and content and all of that online. We did it before it was cool. I don't know. Can I say that? You know, usually Dr. Nathan's here and he's like, yeah, you can't say that or whatever. But I say that because, 2.5 years ago when we were really putting out a lot of information out there, both on the radio show and online, people were really needing help. And because we do something unique in the sense of that we're not chasing any type of symptom, what we're looking for is how do we get down to the cause, right? We have the chiropractic side in our clinic that people come to see us for, but what does it look like to be well? And what it looks like is you have to listen to what your body is saying, and you have to respond to those symptoms appropriately, and you got to get down to the cause. So the cool thing is that a couple of years ago, we were still able to help people even if they weren't in our office, because we were able to do testing from afar. We were able to, get testing, get lab work, do all the things and coach them to health. So we have our clinic in Hamilton Place, and we're virtually all over the U.S. We have followers from all over the world as well. So if you need our help, come check us out. We're doctorswarren.com or on Facebook and Doctors Warren. So one of the reasons I want to talk about, okay, I didn't tell you I was going to say this, but I just want to say one little thing, and you're going to like that I'm going to say this, and I don't know how it's going to show up on Facebook, but I just want to point something out, just kind of myth buster, and then we'll move on to the adrenal thing. One thing that we talked about a couple of radio shows ago, we were talking about the jab that everybody's getting right now, because I just heard a commercial about how I don't know if it was Biden or someone was like, we thought just making it is enough, and that's not enough. We need to create a whole program to implement it to make people take this jab. And I'm just like, okay. And so I read online, there's this big influencer, and she was sharing this political fact thing, and they were talking about, they were talking about how or she shared another medical doctor. Either way, there was this information about how, once you get the jab, it only goes into, it only does things in a short amount of time. So that's why it's not necessary to look at long-term side effects. That is what they're telling you. That's what they're saying, that if you get this jab, if you're going to have any adverse reaction, it's only going to be, within the month or within a couple of weeks or whatever. And that's it, because outside of after you take that jab, I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. I can't get into the actual word, but the CV jab. Anyways, that is so freaking insane to me. I'm already ticked about, I've had way too many encounters with people that are seeing practitioners that are just destroying their health. So I'm a little bit on edge anyways, but it's so freaking insane to me that we believe that we could put something in our body and that there's no long-term effects, whether good or bad. Yeah. To think that we're this separate little system, and if we inject something into us, it's not going to affect us, and if it is going to affect us, it's very, very short-term because we know the body so well. To think that we know for a fact that stress alone affects genetic expression. We know it affects DNA expression. We know that there's things that you can expose to a little bit amounts that will show up months and years down the road. And that's the problem with toxicology and studies like those, is that all they're looking at is what's the maximum dose that's going to give you a seizure or kill you, right? They're not looking at what's the smallest amount that can affect you 4 decades down the road. Because who's doing that study? Who's doing the study? So for someone to say that you can jab or inject yourself with something and that there will be no possibility of long-term effects, dude, that is just crap. There's just a concerted effort to deliver all this misinformation. Yeah. But I just want to say that, because I'm going to talk about adrenals. We're going to talk about adrenals. We're going to talk about weight loss resistant. But you have to understand, how does someone who's changed their lives for 3 or 4 years still get cancer? How does someone who's doing paleo, doing keto, and now they're exercising and all this, why do they still get cancer? Well, because they've only done it for 3 or 4 years. The previous 4 decades, they were bombarded by toxins they never, detoxed from. They had all this stress. They had this DNA damage, mitochondrial damage, cell damage. And now the body didn't have enough time to heal from it, or they weren't doing enough of the biohacks that their body needed. So for someone to say that the only type of reaction you can have is going to be the short-term reaction and that nothing is going to show up long-term if you get this jab is just, it's not science. Yeah. That's not realistic. And I can't even believe I heard a medical doctor make a video about this talking about, get the jab and, the only reaction will happen is only a couple of weeks, and disregard the fact that you can't even say that. You can't say that. You cannot say that definitively. You cannot encourage someone to take something based off of that fact because it has never been studied, because it would need to be studied for years. And the problem is, if it's going to be studied for years, people have to agree to study it for years. Because a lot of times what will happen is there's a cause and effect, but it's so far, so many months and years down the road that it can't possibly be connected. We know now that it's not about the maximum dose of toxins that is put into your body. We know that a little bit over time will change and destroy your body. We know a little bit over time. Yep. That's why I don't like this whole moderation is key. Yeah, no, if you're doing a little bit every single day, and your body can't handle it, that's still creating disease. Yeah. So that's just my little side thing.
I think everybody just needs to use logic as well too, right? I mean, all you got to do is if you listen to any news channel, if you listen to any radio station, just listen to any doctor, any nurse that's on social media, they all say the same scripts over and over and over again. Come on, guys. You guys know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. This is a very similar situation. When you hear the same thing repeated over, that means there's a specific agenda that's trying to take you a certain way, and you gotta learn to block that kind of crap out. And I will say this. There's only been out of they expected 20 to 30 million people, right, to get this jab, and only less than 3 million have gotten it so far, and they blame it on the distribution. It's not the distribution, man. People are smarter than you think. I know that you guys that are listening to us right now are smarter than what the media portrays you as, and understanding that, hey, listen, anything that's rushed within 7 to 8 months, 9 months, that's not science. There's nothing scientific about that. And then just understand, let me give you another perfect example, guys. How many years has Tylenol been studied? 30, 40 years, and yet we're still finding out certain side effects that we didn't know about.
We just found out that taking Tylenol alone will change your gut microbiome. We just found this out.
Yep.
And is that a big deal? Yeah, because everyone's having some gut issues,
I'll give you another example. Metformin. Metformin is one of I know if I have a patient that comes into my office and they're on metformin, I at least have a pretty good idea of what their body can handle, what it's going to be, and I think most people would consider that a safer drug than most of them out there. And then you'd even find some people in the anti-aging realm that would say it's actually a preventative drug that you can utilize. Even metformin over the last year had 5 different forms of it recalled because of a manufacturing issue. And so what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter how long it's been on the market. A drug is a drug, a chemical is a chemical, and it's always going to have a cascade of events that happen inside of the body, and there's really no 100% way to predict exactly what that's going to do for your bio-individuality. Yes. Mm-hmm. You have your own unique microbiome. You have your own unique cellular processes that are happening inside the body. You are a bio-individual. What happens inside of your body is different than what's going to happen inside of my body. And so to try to predict that, and especially to try to predict that in 7 to 8 months, is ludicrous, and people should be put in jail for that type of ridiculous thinking.
In the end, what bothers me the most with everything that's going on is that there's this attack on this assumption that people are just stupid. Yeah, okay, listen, there's some of you guys are not thinking critically. Let's be honest. Don't just listen to your side. Do look at both sides, right? Like, I can confidently sit here and talk about this because we have done the studies, and I know exactly where there's a risk, there must be a choice, but there has to be an informed choice. So there's this idea that if we can get celebrities, or we can get these people, if we can bully or shame,
if we can get a black pastor with a black medical doctor to say on TV, come on, guys.
Yeah, so
holy moly.
So the whole point is this: you get to make whatever choice you want to make for you and your family's health. That's 100% up to you. It's yours. Whatever you choose that, and whatever comes after it.
Yes.
But there has to be this understanding that everything, even life-saving drugs, will affect your body. Will always affect your body. But in those situations, you're like, okay, like if this is a life-saving drug, it's going to save my life. The risks outweigh, the benefits outweigh the risks. But you cannot possibly make an informed decision if you're being fed misinformation about the fact that, like, hey, the only possible reaction that you can have is this short-term reaction.
And I was going to say, you said benefits versus risk. You have a 99.98% chance of survival. Weigh those benefits versus the risk.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I just wanted to add that because one really big thing for us, it's not to feed you information. It's not to tell you what to do at all. Is to give you another, this other side of the coin. And I don't know, I was just freaking shocked that this doctor said this. It's like, listen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this. Like, I mean, I don't know, this is going to sound so... I watch Grey's Anatomy, okay? Surgeons are amazing. Like, and I know that surgeons are way more bad A than what's on Grey's Anatomy, right? Like, I have so much respect for people that are in the trenches, that are saving lives, that are doing these different things, but they are not immune to errors or mistakes. They're just not. No one is a god. There's no God in medicine, okay? There is not, and that's the problem. Medicine has now become this dogma. It's this belief system that, God forbid, you question anything about it, then you're an anti-this, you're an anti-this. Listen, science has theories, it gets tested and retested, but we have to be able to ask questions. And all of you guys, regardless of what the media thinks, regardless of what politicians think, you're not dumb. All right, you are absolutely capable of reading what you need to read and making the decision for yourself. And if I think you're making a bad decision, it doesn't matter. This is America. It's your decision to make that. But it's insane that we can shame or pressure, or do all these things one way or the other to try to persuade people to do something.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, yes, it's possible to get something right now, to put a pill in your mouth, to inject something into your body that can cause a cascade of events that might show up months, years down the road.
Yep.
And that's what 100%. I wanted to clarify with that. But
no doubt. Absolutely.
I have to make sure we don't, oh my gosh, Dr. Nathan could go off on this we talk about it all day, every day.
I've been really sweet today. So I'm in a good mood today.
You're in a good-ish. You almost went there.
Yeah,
I was like, the look in his eyes, the look in his eyes.
That's right.
All right, guys. So we've got to go on break. This is the Wellness Radio. During the break, we're live. We're going to start digging into adrenal health and some hormone health. So if you want to see that, or if you want to play it back, you can go and see it on Facebook at Drs. Warren, DRSWARREN, or check us out on drswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com. On there, you can find out more information about making an appointment with us. Check out Dr. Nathan's men's metabolic reset program as well.
Yep.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about adrenals and a question that we got about weight loss resistance. We'll see you right after the break.
All right, guys. So adrenals, huh? This is a good topic. I think this is one that, for two reasons, I think it's a good topic. I think this is in the functional realm, this is like the fibromyalgia of medical doctors, right? But then also in the medical realm, this is one that's never addressed, right? So it's like two complete extremes here. And so, I think this is a really, really good topic, and we could probably talk on it for hours, but hopefully we can at least, paint a picture of what's the cause, what are some of the solutions, and kind of give you a whole idea of what to do, right?
Absolutely. So we did get a question, so we can go ahead and start answering it here. No, not here. The question you sent me.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So can you let everyone know what that question is so we can...
Yeah. So one of the questions that we got was about weight loss. And so it was a question about, I've tried doing keto for a while, and, I saw some weight loss initially, then it was slow and I didn't see anything after that. In the past, I've been successful with counting my calories. Is that a good solution? And should that be something that I explore, going forward?
Yeah. So let me go ahead and tell you this. I saw something recently where someone's like, I did keto and it wrecked my body. No, keto did not wreck your body. Keto is not a fad. Keto is not a diet. Keto is the body's ability to burn fat to the point where it's producing ketone bodies. It is a metabolic state. So
wait, it's not a weight loss diet?
It's not a weight loss diet.
I thought keto was a weight loss diet.
It's not a weight loss diet. A lot of you guys might be losing weight on keto. And you're going to be really shocked when you reintroduce carbs, because you're going to have to reintroduce carbs at some point, and you got to do it the right way. You guys are going to hate it when you reintroduce carbs. That's a red flag. That is not, people are going to hate it. People that have seen weight loss on keto, when they add in carbs,
they're so scared. They're really, really scared to add in carbohydrates.
Yeah,
right?
And rightfully so. They gain the weight back or they start getting bloated. Mm-hmm. So it is a metabolic state. So this idea that keto wrecked my body, no. What were you doing? How many of you guys are hearing that keto is whipping cream and sour cream and cheese? I have someone who saw weight loss on it, but, and this was before she came into my office, her hands, her eczema got so bad that it was bleeding.
Yeah.
It was cracking and bleeding, and I was like, what were you doing? Dairy. They were doing so much dairy and cheese and all this stuff, and that's not how you do it, right? So counting calories, yes, you can lose weight, right? We're about to go back on. I didn't realize that. Okay, we'll continue this once the show goes live.
All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and I'm here with my beautiful wife, Dr. Rebecca Warren, and we are talking about adrenals today. I said just a second ago on Facebook Live, in the medical community, it's never addressed. It's like it's not even there unless somebody has a tumor on their adrenal gland. In the functional community, that's all that's ever talked about, right? And I would even argue not always even treated correctly, because sometimes with adrenals, what I've found, and we'll go into this later, is that lifestyle changes actually have a bigger effect than supplemental changes do. So, but anyway, so I think it's an important topic to talk about. First, we're answering a question though. We had a question about weight loss. Tried keto, had some weight loss, but then it stalled and again hasn't changed much over the last few months. And then they've been successful with counting calories in the past. Is that a good strategy? Should they go back to that? If not, why?
All right. So what I was saying, during the break, and I want to clarify this because I know keto has become just kind of buzzword, this fad thing. Keto is not a diet. It's not a weight loss diet. Keto is a metabolic state, is consuming enough fat to the point where you're burning it and then producing ketone bodies. You're changing your metabolic state. It's supposed to be a healing state, right? So a lot of you guys, you guys are doing it wrong. I get that your neighbor, this person at church, lost all this weight doing keto. That doesn't mean they were doing it right whatsoever.
Just go on Facebook and look at the keto groups.
Oh my gosh, people were adding me to keto groups, and I'm like, this is so inflammatory.
They're eating processed, super processed, bacon with hormones and antibiotics and
ladies, you're doing keto with conventional meat, and you're eating a lot of conventional meat. And let me go and tell you this, men and women. I don't know why this was so mind-blowing to me and why I didn't know this before, but cows have to be pregnant to produce milk, all right? So I read this article about how they milk either pregnant cows, or after they give birth, they milk them, and there's only a period of time. We are drinking hormonal cow milk. Think about I brought this up to someone I was coaching, and I was like, how crazy, not how crazy, but think about how much hormones are going everywhere after you have a baby and you're nursing. And they were like, yeah. And I'm like,
how many pounds does a cow weigh?
I don't know.
Yeah,
A lot.
8 times what a human being weighs, maybe more than that. And so if it's hormones for a cow and you're drinking those, it's probably not a great idea. Biologically, it's not, it's not going to work out well. I mean, it's not going to kill you right away, right? But at the same time, I've seen a lot of autoimmune patients that will drive up, they're, like you said, eczema, psoriasis, they're inflammatory issues. And that's even on keto.
Yeah. So to clarify is that, okay, let's talk about weight loss, because adrenals, and someone asked a really fantastic question about grief and trauma in the adrenals. And I'm going to touch on that because there is an emotional aspect to it.
Time.
But in regards to weight loss resistant, your body is, if you lost weight a certain way of eating, your body is telling you that it thrives off of diversity. So that's why I wanted to point out. So a lot of people do keto or low carb or calorie restrictive, which if you're doing it the right way, with good quality, healthy fat, organic meat, organic dairy, you're watching the quality of your calories. You're doing a really, really good quality fat and protein. I think I just said that already. Then you'll see those results. But then what ends up happening is that a lot of people stay there because they're like, well, I lost all this weight, doing keto, or I lost all this weight doing low carb or low calorie. But your body doesn't thrive off of that. Your body thrives off of now increasing calories, then stop intermittent fasting and eat more carbs, and then eat more calories. And then guess what? When you feel after that point that your body's not, thriving in that area, then you need to maybe do a little bit of a short period of good plant-based, just, low protein, high vegetables. So when you find that you've responded really well to a way of eating, especially if it's a way of eating that is healing and nourishing to your body, then it's time to diversify. And I'll close with this. This is the only time in human existence that we can eat whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want, whether it's in season or not. Our bodies, up until industrial farming, or even, industrial farming, because before, even if we farmed for ourselves, if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. We weren't eating potatoes. Or if we didn't have a healthy cow, we weren't eating, cow meat, right? This is the first time where you're eating so much at all times, you're drinking things that are empty calories, that's considered a meal, and your body needs a change. So when you're seeing, that's 2 things I'm going to tell you. Number 1, when you're seeing that you've kind of hit this plateau, then it's time to diversify. Then it's time to change up the way that you're eating. Still nourishing, but changing. Are you going to be doing more carbs? Are you going to be doing more protein? Are you going to be doing less protein? And then stick with that with the season and see how your body feels. The second thing that'll be weight loss resistant is toxicity. If you're toxic, if your fat cells are holding on to toxins, it encapsulates those toxins and it's going to make it harder for you to lose weight. If you've done really, really great, you can go back and do low calorie or something. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
But toxicities now should be your top priority, because this is the other thing. When you start to lose weight, and especially if you lose a lot of weight very quickly, then you're losing these fat cells and you're dumping toxins into your body. So a lot of times too, people will lose a lot of weight and not feel well. Well, it's because you have this toxin dump that's happening inside your body, and it's time to detox. Period. Everyone needs to detox. And I'm not talking about just a cleanse.
Yeah.
What is it? Celery juice?
Years. It takes little over years, to detox the body. So I'd say this: top 3 things to do if you're trying to lose weight, and just like the person that asked this question. Number 1, if you intermittent fast, you're going to cut calories naturally. I mean, I dare you to try, go back to the way that you've been eating and count the calories that you ate, and then intermittent fast and try to get all those calories within a meal or 2. It's very, very hard to do. I know some people can do it, but it's almost uncomfortable to do it at that point. So I would say you're probably going to cut calories anyway if you're implementing some intermittent fasting. Number 2, always think fat and protein first, right? You got to eat good, healthy fat, good protein for that first meal of the day. When you do that, you satiate the body, right? Because those are 2 essentials. Remember, carbohydrates are not essential, but essential fatty acids and protein, right? Those are essential to the body. When you feed the body what it needs, it's satiated, right? It's full. And so again, that's going to probably overall help you quote unquote cut some calories in a really healthy way. But then number 3 is, like you said, you got to vary it, especially if you're a woman. Like even more so, like I find with females, is you have to vary the diet. If you're going to do ketogenic, like maybe 3 weeks out of the month ketogenic, but then the week leading up to your cycle, throwing in sweet potatoes and yams and even things like organic, jasmine white rice or something like that to help add those carbohydrates in there. Fruit, right? Adding fruit in there. But you got to vary the diet, right? The body does amazing off of variation, like you touched on. So those would be the solutions.
And then look
there.
at toxicity.
And look at toxicity. You've got to address that. Everybody that's listening to this, it has to address toxicity. We just live in a toxic world. Yeah, but you won't let go of fat if you don't.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into adrenals, because someone made a really good question about the possibility that trauma and grief. So let's talk about what the adrenals do, right? Do you want to touch base on that, like where they're located and all of that?
So adrenals are sitting on top of the kidneys, and the primary area that communicates with the adrenals is the hypothalamus, right? So hypothalamus sends a signal down to the pituitary talks to the adrenals, and that's the way it works. And it does that to allow the body to adapt, right, to its environment. You guys have heard the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal. We talk about it all the time on our shows, mainly because if you look at just about every chronic disease that's out there and you look into the literature, what do you trace everything back to is HPA axis dysfunction, right? Because it's an issue it's a failure to adapt to your environment, whether it's internal or external environment. That is literally the definition of health, is how fast and how quickly can you adapt to your environment, or how fast can you adapt to the stress or trauma that your body's been through. That's the definition of health. And one of the examples I always give is that's the difference between Uncle Jim, who's 96 years old, he's cussed, he's drank, he smokes, he does everything absolutely wrong, in every facet of his life, but nothing will kill him, not even COVID will kill him. And then you go over here and you've got a 23-year-old girl who shops at Whole Foods, does yoga, never puts anything bad in her body, and she's, diagnosed with ovarian cancer. What's the difference between those two individuals? It's not what they eat. It's not how they exercise. Obviously, what is it? It's adaptation. Uncle, whatever I said his name is adapting to a bad environment at a higher level than her body is adapting. So it's a failure to adapt. And so when we look at the adrenals, that's literally their primary job.
Absolutely. And so what are some symptoms? And then we're going to talk about thoughts, trauma, and toxins that affect adrenal function. But some of the symptoms, man, sleep. There's so much, because it affects, like, once cortisol production is influenced, whether too much or not enough, then everything is affected. Your thyroid's affected, your sex hormone's affected, your brain's affected, your energy's affected, your ability to sleep is affected. So one thing that I see very commonly is sleep disturbances. So there's a few different ways that this can show up, where you're wired and tired. You're really tired. You want to go to bed, but your mind is racing. You're laying there. You cannot get your mind to slow down, and you're staying awake. Another way, or another one, is that you're really exhausted. You're really, really tired. If you miss this window to fall asleep, then all of a sudden you have all this energy, and then you can't go to sleep because you missed that window to fall asleep. That's the second one. The third one is you fall asleep, but you're a light sleeper. Anything can wake you up. You're waking up multiple times a day, or you're waking up and you cannot go back to sleep. That is called a cortisol spike in the middle of the night, okay? And another one, this is really interesting, because someone asked me about this, and I pulled the studies to create that connection. How many of you guys are peeing through the night, having to wake up in the middle of the night to pee, or waking up multiple times to pee? Yeah, maybe you're not fully emptying out your bladder. But within the adrenals, you also have aldosterone, right? They work on sodium. So the same adrenals that are just, kind of going haywire, and we'll tell you why, are also affecting sodium retention, right? So what we're seeing is that those same adrenals, you'll see an issue with sodium within your body, and you're having to go pee more often because those adrenals are all out of whack. So sleep is a really, really, really big one. If you drink coffee and you feel two things, either tired after drinking coffee, or you drink coffee and you say coffee doesn't do anything to me, that's not something to brag about. That means your adrenals are not responding to caffeine the way that it should. You should have some sort of effect from drinking your coffee. So if you're tired or if you don't feel anything at all, that's what's gonna cause that for you. If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, depressed, if you're feeling fatigued throughout the day, if you're feeling overwhelmed throughout your day, that's all going to go back to the adrenals. Because why? The adrenal is this cortisol response. Cortisol is not the bad guy. Cortisol is a good thing. Cortisol is what has kept us alive since the beginning of time.
It's what wakes you up.
It's what wakes you up. It's what allows you to handle stressful situations. It's what allows you to be able to work with your kids all day, toddlers that are yelling your head off for an hour and a half.
You don't know anything about that. So, yeah.
And still be able to get up and exist. That's how you're able to go to work and deal with the stressors and get crap done. Cortisol keeps you alive. But we're living at a time where our environment, a lot of what you don't think about and you don't realize a lot of what's going through your brain and what's happening in your environment is affecting this thing on the inside. Mm-hmm. It's affecting your hormones, and all you feel are these symptoms, right? You feel these symptoms all around, and you feel like something's off, and you wish you could just sleep through the night, and you wish you could just have the energy to do things, and you wish you could lose weight like you used to lose weight, and there's this thing, this block, and you don't realize that on the inside your body's breaking and falling apart because your cortisol and your adrenals are all out of whack. Now let me go ahead and tell you this. It's not just a tiger chasing you. That's going to cause your cortisol to go up. But emotional, chemical toxins, foods that you're eating, all affect the adrenals. There's extensive studies that show us as humans, we are so unique in that we can think about things that are really happening and things that are not actually happening, but the body responds the same. Meaning emotional negativity, toxicity, those family members you keep around, you think you're doing them a favor, a negative boss, a horrible draining job, grief that you haven't healed from, things that you haven't healed from, all of those things, your body registers as unsafe, as I am in survival, and what ends up happening is you get this emotional thing that you physically can't see that now is creating a physical issue in your body. Yep. Now we have to go on a break here, guys. We are Doctors Warren. We are the Wellness Radio. Check us out on Facebook at Doctors Warren, or go to our website on doctorswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com. You can find out how you can make a consult with us. You can schedule a call with our clinic director to figure out, of all the things we offer in our office, what's the best thing for you to reach your health goals. How do you get down to the cause of these adrenal issues and what you have going on? So go to doctorswarren.com. This is the Wellness Radio. We'll see you right after the break.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I think you touched on a really big thing. I think a lot of people still don't connect that, losing a loved one, going through a divorce, having struggles with their teenage kids, that those things can massively stress out your adrenals and affect your physical health, right? And I would even say maybe from an adrenal standpoint, that might be the biggest hit on it, is the emotional side, is the relational side of things. It's the things that are happening, kind of on a daily basis. And let's say none of that is even, let's say, you're not having issues with your kids, you're not having issues with your spouse, you're not having, issues at work. Well, let's just go through some of the stressors that you deal with just in the day alone, right? Without all of that stuff happening. Most people nowadays are completely working online on the computer, right? So that's a stressor in itself. You're constantly looking at the blue light, which we know has a cortisol effect. Like literally, we know it specifically disrupts your sleep and your balance of hormones. And some people are looking at a computer screen literally 8 to 10 hours a day, if not even more. Our kids are doing that, right? Like your kids are all in virtual learning, and that's all they're getting is blue light on a daily basis. So there's one that pretty much everybody is going through right there. Number two, if you drive a car, you probably have stress on a daily basis, whether it's dealing with traffic or whether it's dealing with, somebody slams in front of you and cuts on the brakes. Maybe somebody has a sticker on their car that you don't like, that you don't say anything, but it kind of eats you inside, whatever it may be. Or you can listen to ridiculous people on the radio. Maybe you're thinking that about us right now. I don't know. But whatever it is, like you have those stressors that hit. Maybe you're just like, before bed, I think I'm going to turn on the news just to check the weather, right? Probably one of the most stressful things in anybody's life is watching any type of media right now. I mean, period. And so there's so many different areas that I can think of when it comes to an emotional or relational stress that's not just complete disaster, right? They're little micro things that happen throughout the day that add up. And my whole point with saying that is that think about how constantly your hypothalamus, your HPA axis, your adrenals, how throughout the day they're having to adapt constantly. It's a constant thing. So that is why you can see it be such a big issue across the board, right? All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Dr. Rebecca Warren. And we got a lot to talk about, so let's just dive back in. We're talking about the adrenals, right? So we're talking about the adrenals and really looking at adrenals, issues are just, a failure to adapt because of massive amounts of stress.
Absolutely. And so how that affects is like your cortisol. If you're having high cortisol, you can have high cortisol for a while before your body gives out and then it crashes. Yeah. Before you have insufficient production of cortisol. So depending on where you're at is where you're going to see your symptoms. But again, weight loss resistant, we're seeing low testosterone, low estrogen, low progesterone production, low thyroid function, or your thyroid is shutting down, okay? We're seeing gut anxiety, depression. What else are we looking at? Inability to be able to fall asleep at night, or you're waking up throughout the night, or you're just overwhelmed with a lot of different things. Or like
me a couple years ago, I literally couldn't function without a nap in the day.
Yeah.
Like not because I wanted a nap, like I had to. Like I was dying if I didn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we need to look at is it possible, and someone commented on here about, reading an article in PTSD and how that can cause a lot of cortisol and adrenal issues. Yes. Whether it's real or perceived stress, it's stress to your body, it's stress to your adrenals. So what does that mean? You have to get down to what's causing it. What is your stressor? Yes, it can be emotional. Yes, it can be physical. We have seen people's stress response and their ability to adapt completely change when they finally take care of their stinking back pain, the headaches, they take care of their spine and their nervous system. We have seen predominantly a lot of men come in on blood pressure medication just looking for some relief, and see not only that they see relief, and then they also come off blood pressure medication because their body begins to regulate. We don't chase the adrenals, right? We don't say, okay, the adrenals the issue. No, the adrenals became that way because something caused it to happen. Trauma. I mean, we used to say trauma like falls and car accidents and stuff like that. But the fact that you're looking down at your computer, the fact that you're looking at your cell phone, the fact that you have this forward head shift, which is, they call it text neck now, is putting all these detrimental pressure on your spine and your nervous system, all right? We're also looking at toxins, fragrances, forever chemicals, PFCAs? Yeah, PFOAs. We're looking at phthalates and BPS and BPA. There's all these chemicals, fluoride, chlorine. That, listen, what I'm telling you is that you can't not be exposed to toxins, but you can control how much you're exposed to. And it's not just your exposure to the toxin, it's your body's inability to handle that exposure. So it's your job to, number one, decrease your exposure to toxins and then detox as much as you can. And that's what we do on our office. But what you have to understand is, yes, There's a million supplements out there. I do not recommend you going off and trying ashwagandha or doing maca or something like this. I've seen it happen. If your cortisol is high and you take the wrong type of adaptogen, then you're making more cortisol. It's going to be horrible. Or if you're too low and you're doing calming adaptogens, it's just going to suck, all right? This is what we help with. If you find yourself stuck in this boat, if you find yourself, I need to get out of this hole, I need to change this anxiety, I need to change this feeling depressed or feeling down, this weight loss resistant men, that low testosterone, that back pain, that headache, whatever it is, whatever symptom you might be having, it's your body communicating with you. Not to tell you that it sucks, but to tell you that something's wrong. And you got to find the right team, and that's what we do as practitioners, as functional wellness practitioners, to get down to the cause. If you need that help, if you want that help, if you're ready to change, if you're ready to sleep at night, lose that weight, get that blood pressure regulated, you can make a consult with us. You can go to drswarren.com, DRSWARREN, and you can, right at the top, there's a banner, or is someone at the phone? I don't know.
No,
Yes. Okay, well, Kate's at the phone. If you want to give her a call, I did not know she was there. You can give her a call and set up an appointment with myself or Dr. Nathan. The number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. I said that in regards to supplementation and protocols, getting down to the cause, any kind of testing. But what you mentioned before is that one of the biggest ways that you can help your adrenals is through lifestyle.
Yes.
It's the things that I'm going to be completely honest. I am an Enneagram 8. If anybody does the Enneagram, I think slowing down is for losers. And I think yoga is like, bleh. And like, meditation, come on. But in my own health, I am missing a thyroid. It was cut out when I was 19. And my body's very, very, very sensitive to stressors. Everybody's body is very sensitive to stressors, but mine is. And I had to have a come to Jesus moment and realize that it's my lifestyle that is setting me up for failure. It's the choices that I choose to do every day. Yep. So what are some of those things that people can do today to help their adrenals? So
this goes even if you're that wired and tired, or if you're like in phase 3, just done, completely wiped out and exhausted. These are things that can help all of you, right? Kind of across the board lifestyle factors. Number 1, go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day. Now, I know for those people that have hit like that complete exhaustion, that sounds wild, right? Like you're like, but on Saturday, I finally get a chance to sleep in. I'm telling you, you get more benefit if you are consistent with the time you go to bed and the time that you wake up. You get a chance to actually reset your circadian rhythm. Now, one quick strategy to do that: at night, same exact time, every single night. So that means if you've got little kids and you have to put them to bed every night and you have some wiggle room there, you need to make your time to go to bed. Maybe if you put them to bed at 8:30 and you might have an hour between there, you need to say, okay, 10 or 10:30, this is when I'm going to bed every single night. And one thing you need to do is you need to utilize melatonin. Melatonin is a fantastic hormone that helps with, again, balancing your circadian rhythm. And remember, melatonin, I will say this, because I used to be in this boat where I used to think that if you take melatonin, maybe there's this negative feedback loop that your body's not going to produce melatonin, and then you're going to rely on melatonin. Really, the studies don't show that at all. Like, the studies do not show that you become reliant on melatonin. Actually, in high doses has actually been shown clinically to be amazing for preventing metastasis of cancers, helping with improving bone density.
I will say
absolutely
though,
amazing.
I feel that if you're going to use melatonin, you should work with a functional practitioner.
For sure, to find out how much,
when to cut back, when to increase, and that's what we do. Is we work with people, especially
or how to get it in,
or how to get it in the right way.
Because there's different deliveries, right, to get melatonin in the body. So
we have to go on a break. We are going to tell you guys even more stuff. But I do like melatonin. I agree. For a while, I was like, don't do melatonin. But now you can definitely utilize it and melatonin for COVID.
Yeah.
That's something that really helps a lot too. So guys, we have to go. This is the Wellness Radio. Check us out on Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN. Sign up for our newsletter for free health tips and our recap from our radio show. Or you can go there right at the top of the page and schedule an introductory consult to see how we can best help you reach your health goals. This is the Wellness Radio. We'll see you right after the break.
All right, let's see here, man. I've been throwing back the ashwagandha. Well, again, it's not, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily bad. For you, that might be a good strategy.
It's important to understand what's causing your issues. And, I also find when people are on adaptogens, they'll be on it for a really, really long time. And I will say this, adrenals does take time to heal, maybe 90 days, maybe a year, depending on how overwhelmed they are. But, if you've been taking it for a long time and there isn't even just kind of a little bit of a budge in one area, like if you don't even see something move in the right area, it's time to change. It's time to do something different.
Yeah. And I've kind of seen at least from my perspective, some of the more calming, adaptogens are more like the holy basil, the lemon balm, the passion flower, those type of things. More of they can help provide some maybe calming energy, like some energy though. Like ashwagandha seems to be one that I see maybe better utilized in the morning or kind of mid-morning area to do that. So again, everybody's a little bit different when it comes to supplementation. That's why I get so annoyed when I just see adrenal supplement. No. There should be different categories and different herbals depending on, what phase are you in? Are you in the wired and tired? Are you now more exhausted, or are you flat out hit a brick wall? Where are you at with it? And then go from there. Because if you've hit a brick wall, actually utilizing some cortisol, is a must, right? You have to in the morning, otherwise you're not going to wake up very well. But go ahead.
What I was going to say though is are you also adding in calming rituals to your everyday? How much are you breaking up your day from the hectic to the calming, and how much time are you preparing for bed? Because avoiding, the TV an hour before bed is not enough. Is being aware for hours before bed. And why am I saying this? Because you might fall asleep well, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily getting good sleep. And so this practice of going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time, and we're going to give you guys a few more here about temperature and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But it's the quiet time, the prayer, the meditation. It's the active slowing down, breathing. Freaking breathing can turn on and activate your autonomic nervous system. Just taking in deep breaths, because we're such shallow breathers, and taking time to actively slow yourself down and doing box breathing, taking in these deep breaths where you're pushing it out, and I went to go see someone recently, and it's that's what she made me do over and over again, and it was so releasing, because we don't breathe enough, and breathing helps the autonomic nervous system.
And how logical was that though? Because what's the noise most people make after they get out of a bout of stress? It's exactly what you just did, right? It's identical to what you just did. All right, we're about to go live again in just a second. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Dr. Rebecca Warren, and we're talking all about the adrenals today, about stress adaptation, and we kind of painted a picture of the importance of the adrenals and what kind of hits it. And so we started diving into lifestyle changes because, again, I think that this is the primary area that you get the biggest results, at least long-term and over time, rather than just supplementation. Now, I'm not saying there's not a specific time and a place for supplementation and that we don't utilize it, but again, that's why you talked about, utilizing a good functional practitioner, be able to know which type of herbals am I taking, which type of adaptogen should I be taking, do I need to use a glandular, do I need to use some cortisol, to get it back on track, what type of testing to do and all that. But from a lifestyle standpoint, these are things that can help everybody, with their adrenals. So we talked about going to bed at the same time, Waking up at the same time. Yes, that means even on the weekends, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. And I'm telling you, over time, you'll see your energy starts to change just doing that. Melatonin can be a great thing to utilize. Again, at the same time every night to start resetting that circadian rhythm. Another one that I find that throws a lot of people off is those late night snacks before bed, right? Like you need to give your body at least a couple hours, post dinner to be able to digest its food, and then, to kind of get ready for bed as well. You talked about the electronics, either turn them off, or if that's not an option, like if you're like me and maybe your favorite team is playing a game and it's late at night and you want to watch it, gives you some blue light blocking glasses, some of those really the dark orange or amber colored ones.
I wanted to mention that because a lot of people are doing blue light blocking glasses, but they're doing like these are blue light blocking glasses. I'm live right now. There's like a tint to them, but this is like day wear.
Daytime.
Like daytime. The real solid blocking where you're protecting your brain, especially as you're leading up to the night, is going to be the ones that you can actually see that they're orange.
And you can get like
orange
a pair
lenses.
of those for like $6 on Amazon.
Yeah, so the blue light blocking glasses is huge, going with the orange tint.
Yeah, at night. Yep, for sure. And then, some other strategies that I think are fantastic is, utilize, if you have the availability in your area or at home, like utilize a sauna. Right, like utilizing an infrared sauna is a fantastic way to remove toxins on a daily basis, and it's a fun way to do it. It's a comfortable way to do it. Like it's one of our favorite things to do. And if it's at home, then you can take a cold shower, and that contrast really helps a lot with helping you sleep like a baby at night.
And if you're in Chattanooga, really awesome biohack, and I'm sure you can find this in your city, is sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah.
That is, what is that? Like hours of meditation.
I think they said equivalent to like 9 hours of
and like
deep
an
sleep.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
What that means is there's no downloading, no inputting of sound, of touch, of light. Mm-hmm. You lay there and you get to reset your body. So if you're in that serious like 911 state, get yourself to a sensory deprivation tank. The one here in Chattanooga is Lucidity, but you can find one locally to your area.
Yeah, and again, it allows you to relax muscles you haven't relaxed literally in years. It allows you just to lay in the quiet. And for some of you, it's going to be really hard. Like it's going to be hard, right? Dr. Rebecca, it was really, really hard for her when she did it, but being consistent with it is a fantastic thing. And I think especially if you've hit a brick wall, this is a chronic, adrenal issue, it's really hard for you. I do think in your area, try to find a place that has sensory deprivation tank, or they may call them float tanks, whatever it is. And utilize that. I think that's a really great lifestyle strategy. The one things you should not do, you shouldn't be fasting, right? You should be actually consuming good calories. I recommend a paleo diet. Still consider fat and protein first in your first meal of the day. I don't think you should be snacking all day long though, but you can at least have 3 to 4 meals throughout the day. Utilize it that way. And also too, just make sure that you are consuming good, again, whole food based, lots of nutrients to supply your body with, plenty of minerals.
A lot of good minerals.
Yeah,
yes.
Lots of good sea salt and everything like that.
All right, guys, so this is the Wellness Radio. We do have a second hour focused on blood sugar that we'll be playing on the radio. But if you'd like to know more about making an appointment with us, go to drswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com, or give us a call at 423-362-5360. We'll see you later.
Wellness Radio is presented for informational purposes.
All right.
All right, that was the radio. That was a wrap up for the radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but again, from a lifestyle standpoint, like the other big thing that I find, along with like, you'll still see some people trying to push fasting, and that's not a really a good thing if you got some major adrenal issues. And then number 2 is they still are trying to exercise their way out of an adrenal issue. Like you'll see people, I have people that are still doing CrossFit workouts, and they're like, borderline phase 2, phase 3 of adrenal fatigue. And it's like, you are going to continue to spin yourself down because you think that exercise needs to look the same way for every single day. And that's just not the case. Like if your adrenals, if you're trying to heal your adrenals, you know, again, you can still utilize some form of exercise and movement, but maybe it looks more like
Pilates,
Pilates or walking
yoga,
outside,
walking.
nature hikes. You know, maybe it looks like getting on a treadmill, and instead of doing like running and sprinting, maybe you just put the incline way up and you walk on it, right? And you use like maybe you do some easy resistant band training. But again, like going out and doing you know, an Orange Theory workout or a CrossFit workout with adrenal fatigue is not a great idea. And those are great workouts, by the way, like amazing workouts. So I'm not saying that. But with adrenals, you do have to be aware that exercise is a stressor, a good stressor most of the time. But if you're that sensitive, you know, you do have to be aware of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have someone recently, well, not recently, she's been coaching with me for a couple of months now, who was doing CrossFit. And usually if I know there's an adrenal issue, if I get it tested or, you know, we eliminate and we know that's what it is, I'll have them cut back and either not exercise right now that intense, or I will add a maximum 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And she went down to 3 days a week, and I mean, her performance, her strength, her weight loss, all just catapulted by going back, by cutting back.
Because there was no recovery,
yeah,
right?
because her sex hormones were out of whack, her progesterone was depleted, and her adrenals were depleted because of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it's usually a really tough conversation. Like, you can't work out, but they said working out and restricting calories. I'm like, yeah, but not for you.
Yeah, that's good. I would even say, like, you touched on breathing, right? So maybe look into like Wim Hof, you know, technique, the Iceman, look into his stuff, and again, learning to control your breathing even in stressful environments. That's why, you know, I know he's a big component of the cold, you know, part of it, whether it's a cold shower or something cold in nature, that you're exposing your body to, and learning to breathe your way through it. Where that translates into is later on, you're in a meeting with your boss and he's yelling at you because you didn't meet a deadline, and you're actually breathing your way through it. You know how many times, like, I even find myself in stress and I'm like, after it's over, I'm like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wasn't even breathing, you know, during that moment. And so breathing can change your life, like, as crazy as that sounds. So focused, deep breathing can be an amazing thing. Yeah.
And with the Wim Hof too, you know, it's really interesting is that they've done studies on him, and he's done studies on, you know, small studies on groups. And what we talked about, it's all about, health is all about adaptation. It's all about adaptation. And so what's really amazing is, I think it was the group, because he wanted to prove that I'm not like a Superman. Like, it's not something unique that's in my body. It's the training. It's my ability to have my HPA axis balance out. Mm-hmm. And so what he did is he taught a group how to do the breathing and doing cold, you know, breathing through the cold. And they did a group that didn't, and they injected them with like an infection, was it?
I think they exposed them to, some type of bacterial.
They gave them like a bacterial infection or something. And the people that did the breathing techniques, the cold techniques, did not get sick, and they had more people getting sick in the area that did not learn how to breathe or use the cold therapy. And why would that happen? Like, because the terrain, the inside of your body is what determines whether you're sick or not. It is not the pathogen. It is not the virus. It's not the bacteria. It's not the infection. It is your body's ability to handle that external thing. And so when your cortisol is through the roof or just depleted, you're stressed out, whatever it may be, your body will not be able to respond appropriately to outside pathogens. And that's when you get sick. That's when you express the symptoms. That's when, not every time, because expressing symptoms is still a good thing. It means like your body's responding. But it's when you really get seriously sick is when you're seeing those things happen.
Yeah, for sure. I think another area that I think is important to address too is some of us, we all, at times need a mental detox, right? And so what I mean by that is, what are you filling your mind with? Are you filling your mind with, again, all the negativity of everything that's going on in social media and on the news and everything like that? Like, some of you guys just need to turn it off and turn on the worship music, or you need to listen to a sermon, listen to a podcast, or listen to books. Read books. You need to spend more time doing that. Spend more time in prayer, spend more time in meditation, spend more time, focusing on the fun stuff like your goals, and dreaming and envisioning, what you want for this year or 3 years or 5 years down the road. Like, rediscover your imagination and what that looks like. And I think that's a major part of really healing the body just in general is the mental side of things.
And no, it's huge. It's huge. So we have a comment here. Miriam said, my husband is an 8'2". Hey! And he's been on me about box breathing. See, eights really need extra help to slow it down and get their head right because they're crazy. But since experiencing loss of a loved one and falling asleep to my phone, yeah, you and me both, Marianne. Like, the phone, the technology before bed is just, it's really, really tough. And she said she was going to give us a call for a consult. Would love to work with you. But that's huge. Just paying attention to how you respond to your environment is going to be a big red flag of what your body is telling you. Don't ignore those symptoms. Don't ignore the imbalance that's there, because your body doesn't break down just because it wants to break down. It starts to break down because we've ignored what it's been telling us this whole time. Yeah. So, anything else you want to wrap up?
Affirmations, right? Yes. Some affirmations down, some positive ones that you can write on your mirror or, put it on a Post-it note or put it somewhere. And I would say those every morning and say them every night. And again, remember, there's power in your words, and what you feed your mind literally manifests into your physical world. For people that don't believe that and think that's woo-woo, for those people, it's called the law of attraction, right? Literally it happens on a daily basis in your life. So feed your mind and your body and your environment with all the nurturing things that you possibly can. And that's really the best way to heal the adrenals over time, right? That's the best way to do it.
You've always said that. I've always been no, I think it's chiropractic, adjustment, nervous system, spine, which is vitally important. But you were always the one thing is always the mind. And it is. The science is there, and it sucks that we need science to prove that what's happening here will affect you physically in your body and in your world. So, guys, we are Doctors Warren. Check us out on our website. Join our newsletter to receive our updates, our recap from this radio show, our blog posts. That's doctorswarren.com, DRSWARREN.com.
It's going to be an exciting year.
It is. You're excited for your men's program. That's why. So, stay tuned. Make sure to follow, like our page, and we'll see you next Saturday.
See you guys.